Hey, welcome. We're just getting started here. Hey guys, welcome. Hey Dancing Puffin, welcome guys. So I'm doing something kind of new here, and so you'll have to give me some feedback because I'm not sure if you can see me or just the display. So maybe, Yami, if you, can you see me in the corner? I can't tell because I've never done this before. This is the first time I'm using OBS to do a live stream from my computer. I usually do it from my my phone. But yes, it's time to discuss the oversized mutant Arctic wolves that look nothing like actual dire wolves. That's a pretty good summary. You can see me. Awesome. Okay, so that's great. And so different to be doing this here on live streaming from my computer, which is something I really never... Hey, Furrow, what's good? Awesome. All right, thank you so much. And if I can get whatever it is in my eye, probably wolf fuzz, we're going to talk about this whole thing here. All right, so as most of you know, and as you're seeing behind me here, Colossal Bioscience, a Dallas-based biotech company that is apparently valued at $10.2 billion. Imagine that. Not one product in the market, $10.2 billion valuation. Some VC investors have sunk some cash, huh? They announced that they have produced or de-extincted, as they're calling it, dire wolves. So I'm going to get into that a little bit here. So they're claiming this is the first successful de-extinction of an animal species. The dire wolf, Anancion dirus, I think, an extinct canid apex predator, roamed North America until roughly 13,000 years ago. Fossils found in La Brea tar pits and a couple of other locations. Their claim, 3 pups, Romulus and Remus, born October 1, 2024, and Khaleesi, born January 30th, 2025, were produced through advanced genetic engineering and cloning techniques, presented by Colossal as functional copies embodying key traits of the extinct species. So we're going to dig into that a little bit here because I think some of those... I'm making the mother of all omelets. You can't fret over every egg. Okay, so yeah, so here we go. This project, I'm going to give you the genetic foundation first, was extraction of DNA from 2 direwolf fossils, a 13,000-year-old tooth from the Sheridan tar pit in Ohio, and a 72,000-year-old inner ear bone from American Falls, Idaho. So Colossal scientists sequenced and assembled 2 high-quality dire wolf genomes. They claim they provided a genetic blueprint. However, this DNA was degraded, and so there was no way to clone these animals. Instead, they utilized gray wolf, which is not nearly as closely related to dire wolves as supposedly jackals were. As the blueprint, they used gray wolf Canis lupus cells as a starting point. And they're claiming that because they share 99.5% of the DNA, well, so dogs and coyotes and foxes share more than 99.5% of the DNA, and you can't breed dogs to foxes. So it's not as close as they're making it sound. Just what is there to gain for this? Yeah, we're going to get into all of this stuff. Yeah, all the comments here. They don't see why it's a good idea. We'll dig into that. Dire wolves by the Game of Thrones. All of this stuff is in. I did a little prep for this because I really wanted to both address kind of the whole scope of this, but also have good factual information so that I don't misspeak. So let me just dig in a little deeper, and then we'll talk about the ethics and everything else. And address the comments that are here because, yes, there's a lot here. I don't know. It depends how often you're on the John, I guess. So anyway, the first thing is 99.5%. So humans are closer than 99.5% to bonobos. So, you know, that's not that close. So they're claiming that they made 20 precise edits across 14 genes in gray wolves, including 3 changes to the LCORL gene linked to body size regulation, and that they're expecting a stature of 150 pounds, nearly double the average gray wolf's 70 to 80 pounds. I find that interesting, both because I don't think the average gray wolf, at least not in my experience, weighs as little as 70 pounds. Maybe the males don't typically, unless they're underfed or poorly cared for or starving. So they're drawing parallels to large dog breeds. They edited coat pigmentation genes such as the KIT and TYR genes to produce a light, nearly white coat with thicker, longer fur, contrasting with the gray wolf's typically darker, shorter pelage. They tried to alter craniofacial genes to replicate the dire wolves' wider head, broader shoulders, fuller snout, and stronger jaws. I'm not sure how they know the dire wolves' jaws are stronger than modern wolves. Suggestive of, sorry, got to flip the page on my little notepad here. I did some homework. Bone-crushing bite. Okay, so the edited cells, according to them, underwent somatic nuclear cell transfer, where their nuclei were inserted into enucleated donor eggs from domestic dogs. My understanding is they use large mixed-breed hounds. These are implanted into surrogate mothers. 8 transfers, 45 embryos, relatively low success rate. They got the 2 boys and the female, and they lost another female due to an intestinal infection. Seems weird. That part I want to comment on first, because I have raised many wolf pups, and these are hardy animals. You have to mess up for them to die, and you would think that with the incredible investment, that to me speaks to other issues that are potentially related to the genetic engineering that they did, because you'd think that in an environment with that kind of money that they would be unlikely to have an animal get an intestinal infection unless they were particularly susceptible to something, or they don't know how to bottle feed puppies. It's hard to say how they did it. There's no information about like the formula they used. Those of us that have bottle fed wolf pups for years know it can be tricky, but you have to mess up pretty bad to have a pup die of an intestinal infection. And particularly since they had the surrogate, the surrogate mothers there, they could have put them right on the teat of the mother, and maybe they did, but a little tough to know exactly. Let's see here. Well, the dire wolf is quite different than the gray wolf that's modern. Let's see here. So anyway, let's talk about how they look. So they admit, although they're calling it de-extinction, and the news is all gaga about this, and I mean, it sucked all the air out of the science news for at least a couple days, which I guess was their objective. They'll admit not exact genetic replicas, engineered hybrids, the functional approximations, intended to restore ecological roles and observable traits lost with the dire wolf's extinction. So let's talk about an ecological role. Many of the animals that the dire wolf preyed upon also went extinct around the same time, like the woolly mammoth, like the woolly rhino, like the giant sloth. So what ecological role do they imagine that these animals would fill now that the wolves that outcompeted them are not filling? That's my first question. I just think that's an absurd statement. I mean, I think these guys are playing Jurassic Park with investor dollars, frankly. And I think this is really foolish. I mean, if they were to, first of all, they're not going to reintroduce these animals into the wild. That would be absurd. Scientists and ethicists would lose their minds. There's so many problems with that, the least of which is we're doing our best to create a second extinction of gray wolves. Why would we want a funky, genetically engineered pseudo-wolf to be reintroduced into a landscape where their primary food sources are absent and their cultural, ecological capabilities are extinct, even if the animals are back. Wolves learn by observing other wolves. That's how wolves learn to hunt big prey. We don't know a lot about how these animals hunted. I mean, did they hunt as social carnivores like wolves, or did they hunt more like bears or big cats? I don't believe we know any of that stuff. Right? They don't have a role. That's exactly right. I'm not sure how you lose a pup to an intestinal infection unless there were other anomalies with the physiology of these animals. So there's been some legit criticism from others. I mean, I'm not a geneticist. I'm a wolf conservationist, but I've got strong opinions about wolves and many years of experience with wolves. But I do like this, that paleontologist Julie Meechan and geneticist Vincent Lind said they're genetically modified gray wolves, given the species placement in a distinct genus and its divergence 2.5 to 5.7 million years ago. Colossal claims that the de-extinction prioritized reviving phenotypes and functions, such as the wolf's role as a predator of megafauna, like bison and horses, overachieving 100% genetic identity. They claim the pups exhibit dire wolf characteristics, including larger size, thick white coats, robust builds, intended to approximate the extinct species' fossilized traits. Okay, we've all seen a bunch of pictures. Let's talk about it. And I'm going to try something here. I don't know whether this will work, so if it doesn't, bear with me. Well, they wouldn't survive in the wild, probably, and I mean, well, they're trying to bring woolly mammoths back, supposedly, but for what? And I mean, at what cost? I mean, and also, keep in mind, I mean, canids are pretty fast reproducers, relatively. Elephants are not. So, I mean, it would take 100 years for them to have a population, maybe. I mean, and what would they do? What would they eat? Where would they go? Those niches have been filled by other species. They had nearly 100% available habitat. Right, the fluffy mouse. That's right. I love it that people are so tuned into this. It's super cool. So I'm going to try something here. I want to show you guys what actual very small wolf pups look like, if I can. I don't know if this is going to work. So somebody let me know. Let me see what happens here. All right, cool. So this is kind of working. So this is a Kutak, one of my animals, when she was about 3.5 weeks old. And I want to show you what that animal looks like now, because their whole born white, pink nose, like that is a complete non-starter for me in any respect, talking about like natural wild animal biology. This is what a wolf pup looks like when, and they either look like this, or they look like, let me just zoom down here in my favorite pictures for a second. Or they look like, where are we going here? Gotta find it. This is Icknick when he was teeny tiny, right? And so the difference is that wolves that are going to phase into any other color than black are born brownish gray, and wolves that are born like this end up, looking more like this, and ultimately, with the big-eared phase, they look like that. And then finally, you get, Icknick. This is a teenage Icknick, right? And that's what the black phase animals look like when they're born black. Otherwise, this is a Kutak a few years ago, almost in the exact same pose. And interestingly, for those of you that are curious, a Kutak hair is actually a cousin of the animal actor that played Ghost on Game of Thrones. So, in their version of a dire wolf, obviously no red eyes, because there's not albino Arctic wolves to my knowledge, and I don't think any would survive, but pure black nose, pure black lips. Pure Arctics have sort of a darker eye coloration typically. And yet, you saw she was a brown little thing. So wild carnivores are not born white. That's a birth defect that probably is a non-survivable one. It would make them so vulnerable. So that's a couple of the things that I wanted to get into first. about the appearance. Right. Well, so Furrow, you're right. So they did that on purpose, and I dug into that a bit in my research here. They're saying at 6 months they weigh 80 pounds. The pictures they've shared don't convince me they weigh 80 pounds. They just don't look to me like they weigh 80 pounds. Icknick, my largest animal, weighs roughly 150 pounds, and he looks significantly taller and more massive than these animals. And the side shots of these animals don't show me something that looks like, Mastiff or Corso bone structure versus, the wolves, which have pretty long, lean limbs. So, I also don't. First of all, I don't think that they show longer, wider snouts. But what I do think is that they show a very significant overbite. Even in this picture here, you can see they've got an overbite. And this is a genetic defect that's caused typically by inbreeding. In fact, one of my good friends commented on her Facebook about this, saying that they look like there's a wolf dog breeder that has terribly inbred animals. He should have stopped breeding years ago, but it's how he makes his living, off the back of animals he breeds. And those animals are born with a terrible overbite. International Wolf Center, Axler Grayson. I mean, they can phase out very early. If I saw these animals in real life, would my opinion change? Maybe. I mean, it would change about their appearance if they look dramatically different than animals I've had my hands on. But I'm pretty good at looking at pictures. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I just don't see anything that strikes me. I mean, if I saw that animal on the street, I would say that's a badly bred wolf dog, mixed with like white German Shepherd or something. I mean, there's just nothing about it that strikes me as, whoa, that's really different. I mean, sure, my concern is that they're going to put these animals on the market as a designer dog so people can say they have a dire wolf, and we'll end up with another breeding crisis in 20 years. So, and I mean, pups that have a lot. So, Yami, pups that have a lot of Arctic lineage, and I think some of the wolves that International Wolf Center, and I know those guys pretty well. I was really close friends with their former curator, Lori Schmidt. Some of the animals they've obtained definitely have Arctic genes in the line, and when there's Arctic genetics, the animals phase out very quickly. I'll go back to my photos here, and I'll show you. So, for example, a Kutak here. Scroll back. All right, so look at by this age, look how light she was. This is 8 weeks old, and she's already turning white. And by the time she was, that's a year old, a little over a year old, and she's pure white, right? So Arctic wolves do phase out very quickly, but they're not born white. I mean, they're born like this. That's what they look like. This is what they look like. So yeah, it's this is quite different, right? And they just don't. I mean, these white little claws. Arctic wolves have taupe-colored claws. They're not white. They're translucent, and you see the blood flow through the claw. They always have black noses. They have black paws. I haven't seen any pictures to show the paw coloration. They also have fully furred ears. If you look here, you can see the pink in the ear. But if we jump back to my photos here, you'll see that these guys have mostly fully fulled ears, even when they're very young. So, and just for comparison, this is a friend of mine's photo of a pure wild Arctic male that was following him as he circumnavigated Ellesmere Island on a kayak. So, this is a pure wild Arctic wolf, male, obviously to me a male, and just for reference, right? You're looking at the actual wild animal coloration of an animal that phases to white for a pure. This is a treeless environment, So, and it's just different. I mean, this is white German Shepherd coloration. It doesn't have the agouti pelage of a wild animal at all, in my opinion. Right. I haven't seen their enclosure furrow. I haven't seen that video, but they say they have a 2,000 acre compound. Great. So what? The animals are just going to roam around randomly in 2,000 acres? That's a huge compound. I guess that they're, like I said, I feel like these guys are planning on creating a Jurassic Park situation. Right. So yeah, there you go. Primarily Arctics. Yeah, I think Axel passed. Right. But yeah, exactly. They never looked like this hair. If entities and AS life taught us anything, is right. Yeah. I mean, what would my ultimate wolf? Well, I mean, I think wolves left alone are an extraordinary, interesting, highly capable species. Before we started trying to extinguish them, they were the most widely distributed terrestrial mammal, and they can pretty much survive in any ecotone at all. I mean, from desert to, there's versions of wolves that live in the desert. There's versions of wolves that live in the Himalaya. There's versions of wolves that live in the Arctic. They can live on islands. They could certainly make a living in, temperate rainforest, jungle. They'd probably be pretty problematic in a jungle. So it's just years of looking. Something about the shape of the head and the face, the stance. I guess, when you look at humans, you can tell. I've just been looking at wolves for 40 years. And to me, I mean, even from a distance, I can tell if it's a male or a female wolf. Right. Yeah, exactly. The agouti coloration that you would expect in a wild animal, typically in a wild animal at least, I mean, the exception, even polar bears have some coloration across their fur, as do Arctic foxes. And so then, there was some challenge to the company about the appearance, and we'll dig into that in a minute because people like me brought that up straight away. So what do they plan to do with them? So they say they have no plans to release the pups into the wild. Duh. I mean, okay. They're in a 2,000 acre preserve under 24-hour surveillance. They have Humane Society certification. I don't even know what that is because the Humane Society doesn't it's either, this is suspicious. The USDA, right? Those of us that do this work, it's the USDA is your principal animal care certification. The Department of Fish and Wildlife for certain circumstances. And then if you want a high-level certification for your animal husbandry, the quality of your habitat, etc., that's the American Zoological Association. American Humane Society doesn't, to my knowledge, even have such a certification. So I find that either that's a mistake or suspicious. That could be, news media messing up. I don't know. They're calling this a proof of concept to define their de-extinction toolkit, CRISPR editing and interspecies gestation, with real-time development data shared to advance genetic engineering. They say that they're aiding conservation, such as cloning red wolves. I have a friend that's pretty excited about their red wolf cloning. These are ghost wolves from Galveston, I guess, to boost genetic diversity. Maybe that's a better use of what they're doing. I do have a plan to take samples from one of my animals because it's such a rare subspecies that I want the possibility of cloning her in the future. But I don't like the gestation into a dog. What I would want, very risky, if I was going to do cloning of one of my animals, would be to have the embryos implanted into a intact female that's very close in subspecies type, size, everything else, hormonal, so that I get the closest thing to actual born wolf. I think there's clear hormonal differences that would be exposing any gestating fetus in utero that would probably alter somewhat the animal. So red wolves are one of the rarest canids on Earth. There's just like 10 of them in the wild because people keep mistaking them for coyotes and shooting them. They are at the Alligator River. I think it's called Alligator River Preserve down in the Carolinas and Florida. We almost had 100 of them in the wild, and then people got, wise that they could shoot them and say, "Oh, I thought it was a coyote." And they have had a high attrition with cars. There's about 300 in captivity that are being bred. So yeah, well, it would be a Kutak. It's not really a secret, but she's so rare and so remarkable that, and she's turning 14 tomorrow, and so I want to make sure that I have a backup copy. We also bank sperm for our animals because my of my small group of animals, the genetics I have are among the most valuable, unique in the world, and so I preserve them. And that way, if something happens, I have backup copies. I also have backup copies of my Malamute Bixby because he was remarkable. I'm a good customer of the sperm bank. So let's get into some of this other stuff here. Obviously, their claims about the white coat. They think these animals might have had a white coat. This strikes me as, okay, for sure. They inhabited diverse habitats, grasslands and forests. It would seem to me that they would be much more likely to have a grizzled gray or tawny coat, just like modern wolves. It doesn't seem like there would have been any advantage to having a totally white coat. What do we got here? Sorry. I'm trying to catch up with some of the comments. So if you Google Canis rufus, you'll see red wolves. And guys, just so you know, I've got another thing I have to do in 21 minutes. I'm going to try to compress some more of my thinking here, but if you guys are into it, we will continue this on another time. It's super interesting. I mean, I'm not bored with it. I'm just a little perplexed by the claims and the media uproar, and I'm a little concerned about the ethics and the consequences. That's how I'd put it. So digging in a little bit, they intentionally made them white. They intentionally gave them pink noses. And their claim, this is horseshit, was that they made pink noses because they were claiming that that this would decrease the risk of blindness and certain other diseases. This is complete horseshit. That's exactly the opposite. We know that the genes that cause pink noses in dogs increase the risk of blindness and other defects. So here's where I get super suspicious, right? I mean, not the least of which is this picture of the animals is in the Game of Thrones sword throne, right? The Iron Throne, whatever they call it. But George R.R. Martin is an investor and cultural advisor for Colossal, linking the project to his dire wolves, such as Ghost. I'm a little disappointed in George. George has done some really cool stuff for wolves. He provided great support for one of our friends, Wild Spirit Wolf Sanctuary, back in the day. But this is just a cash grab, marketing BS. I guess their white coats and pink noses echo his fantasy aesthetic. And I think that this is the PR stunt part of this. I don't think this had any paleontological evidence. Colossal claims the noses emerged as a byproduct. But again, to avoid sensory issues like blindness or deafness linked to pigmentation genes in gray wolves, this is complete horseshit. I mean, I've never heard of gray wolves being born blind or deaf or getting blind or deaf early unless they were improperly cared for and fed. Yeah, I agree. It was probably a rusty, grizzled color. So, let's see. I mean, to me, this is a PR stunt. Okay, it's less than 1%. These are largely, dogs. They don't even look like high, pure wolves. Not really. Other critics, myself included, would call these guys wolf clones with mutations. I would even go that far. I'd say they're badly bred wolf dogs with genetic anomalies. The clearly the fossil record does not support the color choices. This is the thing, Dan. You're so right. I mean, $10.2 billion, which has been invested in this Colossal Biosciences company. Can you imagine how much habitat could have been purchased and protected for existing species to live in an undamaged ecological niche? This is the thing that crushes me, that we spend money on vanity projects that they can stretch the truth all they want. I mean, and even their cloning, I mean, look, they've cloned Arctic wolves in China also. Viagen will clone your wolf if you will have the money. So pink noses are bad because it's associated with other genetic mutations associated with an increased risk of blindness. I believe that there's also an increased risk of autoimmune diseases with animals that have pink noses. But you know, I just look at all this money and look at the good that could have been done for wildlife with all this money. And all the people, dire wolves. Meanwhile, we're killing, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Michigan. They are, the states where they haven't been permitted to kill wolves are literally already planning their first wolf hunts, right? Exactly, Kellen. And this is what is so tweaking me about this, is the incredible amount of money that has been invested in something that could have been spent to preserve our biosphere. Our planet is in trouble. It's in trouble. And we've got an administration that just agreed to open up for logging old growth forest in California. Like, this is some of the last remnants of true old growth forest, and they're going to give people permission to cut it down to make envelopes and picnic tables. It just so depressing to me that this is where we're at in civilization, that these guys, I mean, there's good scientists here. They're capable of doing amazing stuff, clearly. But what if they turn that to things that will actually benefit wildlife? Like, this does nothing for wildlife. If anything, this is harmful for wildlife. I mean, that 2,000-acre preserve for a couple of dogs, if it's natural habitat, that should be now it's a full-blown exclusionary zone for the animals that used to live there, right? I mean, that's the one thing, Dan, that I thought maybe we can spread, but people don't seem to be making the connection, and we don't actually need to other than the red wolves. And I'm sorry, I'm probably going to butcher your name. Is it Gitti? You can please correct me or give me a phonetic. I apologize for that. I try my best, but not my unusual name's a little tough for me. But red wolves and Mexican wolves, most definitely, because they are genetically bottlenecked and need all the help they can get. But for the most part, wolves just need to be left alone in the spaces that are available for them to recover, and they do great. They rebound fast as long as there's food and they're not being shot or run over or trapped or snared or all the other crap that humans do. Wolves are pretty resilient animals, and we just need to leave them be. Kellen, I completely agree with you. I think we're seeing a pillaging of our country right now. I think that they're handing it off to the highest bidder with crony capitalism, and we are about to witness a new wave of ecological destruction on a scale that heretofore we couldn't imagine. Let's see. Well, that enclosure could have been used for multiple packs of wolves. I mean, 2,000 acres is, that's a couple of square miles. Like, I mean, if you were going to raise wolves, but, it'd be better just to not have a fence. So asking why what is bad, grimy. Yeah, Kellen, I'm right with you there. I really believe that we need to have human exclusionary zones. Part of me loves Chernobyl. Like, we had an existential crisis for humanity. We did everything we could to put as much of a cork in it as we possibly could with the tech we had at the time. And the fact that it's completely unsafe for us to live there again has created it's one of the most biologically diverse places on Earth, because we can't go there for any length of time. So wildlife has reclaimed it. It makes me say we need more badly built nuclear facilities that eventually fail and create more large exclusionary zones. I mean, it was, these animals seem to be resilient to the genetic defects somehow. Maybe they just, the ones that were susceptible to cancers don't survive, and the other ones now have new levels of resilience to radioactive isotope exposure. I think it's amazing. But we need, and let me segue into something. So what I'm trying to do, for those of you that are curious, there's a piece of land up here near where I live that I would like to buy. It's a golf course it's a private golf course that hasn't been very successful. It's in a very difficult zoning area. I'm working with my county commissioners to get permission. We want to buy it. Believe me, I'll be going out for fundraising when we do, because it's a huge ask. But I want to rewild it and it's about a 52-acre parcel. I want to have a fully open to the public wolf science and education center there. And the deal is that our community gets around 25 million tourist visits a year. This means that it would be the most accessible, high-quality wolf science center on Earth. My projections are that it would generate millions of dollars in excess revenue from gate emissions annually. And I already know, because I have about the same number of animals here, that we would have a huge slush fund. And what I want to do with the extra money is buy critical habitat around the world through my foundation and hold it in trust in perpetuity for the benefit of wildlife and, secondly, all mankind, by preserving critical ecosystems. 18th century, I guess you're just jumping in here. So we've been talking about the downside of this direwolf publicity stunt, right? I mean, it just, yeah, exactly. The amount of available habitat has been shrunken and divided and damaged and degraded so much that humans and our food are like 90+% of all living, breathing mammalian life forms on the planet. It's terrifying. So, and yeah, I mean, I'll announce it. We'll do, a big fundraiser. I do think that I'll be able to raise significant support from high net worth individuals and corporations that would like to be involved in a really smart eco project. I don't know if you guys saw my channel. About 2 months ago, Lisa Vanderpump came over and met some of my animals, and she has a restaurant up near where I live called Wolf, and so I believe she would support the project, as will I think other high net worth individuals that I'm in contact with. I just think for the amount of money I need to raise, which is roughly $12 million, the good is substantial. I believe that we will be able to do truly significant things, both in terms of educating the public about how important and interesting wolves are, but Yep, Wild Adventurer, exactly. You're kind of jumping on here late, but yeah, we've already gone through this whole conversation about the problems with it, so you'll have to just play back the live later. But yeah, I believe that we'll be able to accomplish truly great things for wild wolves and public awareness, and maybe turn the tide on the anti-wolf rhetoric that's now being promulgated by well-funded AstroTurf organizations and ranchers. I mean, in the 9 minutes I got left before I got to jump, let me dig into that. One thing about that, yeah, $12 million. That's to buy the golf course, rewild it, build all the facilities, and operate it for a year. It's kind of a bargain for what we get and what it could do. So it's a lot of cash, but it's not a lot of cash for people that are worth $1 billion, especially since we're a nonprofit and it would be a write-off. So yeah, I mean, the people put $1 billion+ into Colossal Biosciences to make 2 badly bred wolf dogs. So, I mean, put it in perspective. Like, we could change the plight of ecosystems, and they've got a vanity project. So I feel like my pitch is good there. I'm actually prepping to do some TEDx talks about wolf-inspired leadership and the myth of the alpha wolf, and hopefully that will also put me in front of corporations and individuals who have the resources to support the initiatives that I'm trying to promote. But yeah. So, anyone have any further thoughts here before we wrap this sucker up? It was really great to get some people here who know a lot and share my own thoughts about it. And I'll leave this live up once it's done. And it was a cool first test, by the way. Extinction bad. Well, I mean, I think we consider extinction bad when we're responsible for the extinction, right? I mean, extinction is a process of evolution and evolutionary fitness, mostly. But that's quite distinct from extinction because of human impact, right? I mean, that's the difference is... So they got sold and they couldn't. That's unfortunate. Yep. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the distinction, is that when we're responsible for the extinction, either because we just went out and killed every single one we possibly could, like carrier pigeons. And by the way, if you want to read the horrific extinction that we visited on the carrier pigeon, I suggest you read Racing Extinction by my friend Lyle Lewis. It's an amazing book. It'll make you pause for sure. Other animals cause extinctions, not like humans, right? We're not destroying entire ecosystems. We don't have, other animals kill for food. They don't kill for sport. They don't kill for convenience. They don't kill at scale. I mean, we killed 60 million bison in a couple decades. Like, no other animal does that. I mean, we can fish an entire population out of an ocean in a few decades. That's a completely different level of impact. I mean, the dire wolf went extinct because it was no longer the fittest species of its type for its niche. Modern gray wolves outcompeted them. It wasn't Neanderthals that outcompeted them. It was a smaller, more adaptable wolf. I mean, we outcompeted Neanderthals, and their extinction was, not because we killed them at scale. It's because we were fitter for the niche in the climate. So how would I bring back the wolf population to all of Europe? I would stop killing wolves and let them expand into all the available habitat. That's pretty much all you have to do, with the exception of the island nations. And those nations need to think about whether they would want to do a reintroduction and whether the flora and fauna of those places can support a wolf population. So, yeah, I mean, I think wolf recovery is simple. You get some healthy, genetically diverse wolves in a few places, and you just let them do their thing. We put 65 wolves back into 2 locations, Yellowstone and the River of No Return Wilderness in Idaho. And from that, wolves have recolonized Idaho to a large degree, Montana to a large degree, Wyoming, except for they're shot everywhere that they can be seen. Oregon, Washington are growing wolf populations. California, the wolf population is rapidly growing. And if we would leave them be, yeah, for you and me both, right? We need fewer humans with a smaller impact on the planet, and more of everything else that's not our food. So I think that's kind of it. So in the last minute or two here, if you guys have any other thoughts, love to hear them. And if not, we'll close it out by thanking you guys for joining me. I'll say, if you want to support my work, you can become a paying member of the channel. I have a YouTube shop with some fun merch. QBL. Sorry. I think there's a possibility of that if they have clean DNA, right? And apparently they're doing some of that work with red wolves, ghost wolves, which is more interesting than this vanity PR stunt. So for those of you that let's see, I don't know if this will be flipped around. Let me see here. Does this work? My book, The Wolf Lover's Guide to Raising Dogs, available on Amazon. If you have a dog and want your dog to love you more, this is your Bible. It's got 262 pages of my life experience and how to make your dog love you more. And if you just want a cool notebook with some wolf-inspired imagery, this is also available on Amazon, The Wolf Lover's Notes. If you want to support my nonprofit, it's TahoeWolfCenter.org. And if you do join this channel as a PAC member, find me also on TikTok. And the reason I'm asking you to do that is because if you join, send me an instant message on TikTok letting me know you joined as a paying channel member. You can do this on either TikTok or YouTube. I think YouTube is better for that. But the reason I want you to do that is because I send gifts to my members in the mail. So I need your name, your mailing address. I'm going to touch on the Jap. I think all wolves are beautiful, and I think that the Japanese wolf is very unique. And I don't think we have a lot of great. I think we don't have a lot of great imagery of it. So I'm not sure we know really how it looks. The number of samples is too small, and there's a lot of differentiation from one wolf to the next. So, yeah. Anyhow, we're at the top of the hour here. Yeah, you're right. There is. I think the government isn't getting on board yet. I mean, governments are lobbied by food producers, right? So if enough people say they want it and the ecosystems need it badly enough, maybe they'll make a move to do that. But no mistake. Just opinions. So no worries. Appreciate you guys. And I'm going to wrap up the stream. And we'll see you on the next one. But this was super fun. I'm glad this worked out. Like I said, this is my first live streaming with OBSS, the software on OBS. This software kind of worked good. So I'll probably do more of this because it is fun. So thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out, asking some great questions. We'll do this again. Talk soon. Howls.